All right. Hi, everyone. So, what is it that causes us to seem to miss this? Or what creates the experience of not being awake, apparently? The experience of being bound by ego. Um, Somehow feeling like we're missing something important that's not here. Or what the non-dual speakers are talking about is not my experience. Isn't what I'm experiencing right now. And the only experience we can have, and this is strange and paradoxical, of not being awake, is the belief in one thought, the one thought that's here now. The thought that frames experience as being unenlightened, or frames experience in a personal way where I feel like I'm missing this. It's the belief in one thought. And when that thought feels real, it doesn't seem like a thought. The thought is taken to be reality. And the thought might say, I'm not awake. I'm missing something about this. My experience isn't the right one. This isn't liberation. This isn't awakeness or awakening. And paradoxically, that belief in that one thought is an identification with thought. So it is the experience of not being awake on one level. But the way in which I point, which can be annoying at times, or it can be potent, depending on which angle you take it from, depending on what's listening. The pointing that I talk about a lot is you're already awake. Points past this thought identification, points past the reality of that thought as defining this experience as being a certain way, as being awake or unawake, enlightened or identified. So you can see it's a very paradoxical thing, because on one level there is an identification with thought, the thought that says I'm not awake, I'm identified, I'm missing this somehow. But what I'm pointing to is that which you are, which is here right now, that's aware of that thought, that's having that experience. So what are you that's here right now, that's listening, that's thinking, that's looking? What are you that's having the experience of not being awake? There's a big question mark there, because to open to that, we're going behind or before the ability of the mind to define experience in a certain way, to qualify experience or label experience as awake or unawake in a dualistic way. So, and like I mentioned before, it's not obvious that it's a thought when the thought is taken to be reality. So it feels like a real experience of I'm not awake, I'm missing this. What the non-dual speakers are talking about is not in my experience right now. And what I'm looking for in this is somewhere else. It's a different experience in the future. It's not here right now. And it feels real. It feels like that's what this experience is. It's like I know this isn't the correct experience. I know this isn't what the non-dual speakers are talking about. But what are you that knows this right now? What are you that's here right now, that's aware of this thought? So there's a simple silence, a simple stillness, a simple open clarity in which these experiences come and go, move and change. And then a thought might appear that's looking for a conclusion, a confirmation, to behold something definable or understandable about this. So it might appear in the form of a thought that we can identify as a thought quite easily, like, this isn't what the non-dual speakers are talking about. My experience isn't the right one, in whatever form that thought appears. But what are you that's here, that's wide awake, that knows that is aware to experience that thought as it appears now, as the thought comes and goes, moves and changes? What you are is simply here, simply aware, simply awake. So it may appear as a feeling, like a dissatisfaction, like something in me feels like I'm not accepting this experience, that this isn't right, the right one, that this is somehow going to get better in the future, or awakening's just round the corner. I'm going to have the experience soon that's going to liberate me, something like that. It's more subtle, it's like a feeling. It's how the experience feels, and it feels real. But what are you that feels that? What are you that's here right now, having that experience? The experience of not being awake. So you see there's a simple relaxing into the immediacy of what you are, that's simply here. It's simply already awake. The mind doesn't understand, because it's the source of mind, so to speak. It's the awake space in which the thoughts play out, in which the thoughts come and go, that's simply always here. It's just simply always here. You could call it unchanging, an unchanging presence that simply is. Anything the mind says about it is simply a movement within it, a movement within you. It doesn't define it. Ultimately, it doesn't define it. But when we buy into the thoughts and we believe what the mind is saying, how the mind is framing this, it certainly seems like it does define it as a reality. And the mind doesn't understand it. You could say it comes before the mind. It's not separate from the mind. It's prior to the thought. It's prior to the changing of experience. It's prior to time, prior to identity. So the experience seems like it moves and changes. Experiences come and go with their different qualities. Even awakening experiences of peace and flow and freedom and simplicity, and experiences of complex mind activity and uncomfortable feelings. But throughout all that, what you are that's simply here is just here, is untouched, unchanged by any of that, fundamentally. It's almost like it's not in that world. Not in the world of the changing, not in the world of this or that, just simply here. And strangely, it's appearing as that thought, as that feeling, as that constant changing, constant moving, constant shifting. So when the mind moves to define this, to hold a point of view and relate to it, when there's a relationship with my experience from the position of me, the experiencer, and it looks like this is the experience, it's this way or that way, enlightened or unenlightened. When that seems real, we're already one or two steps into the world of the mind, living life by the terms of the individual, of the self. And one simple question, it doesn't even need a question, it's just an opening. It's just an attentiveness to what am I that's here right now, that's thinking, that's looking, that's hearing, that's sensing, that's simply and undeniably present. That whenever I notice it, so to speak, or relax into it, it's already here. It's like it's waiting for me. It's like it's never not there for you. And it is the thoughts, it is the emotion, it is the pain. It's all of that. It's not apart from any of this. So it's inescapable. The world of the mind, the movements and thought don't define it. But it's free enough to seem to have the experience of being a person and struggling with life, struggling with awakening, struggling with experience. So the more we open to that, the easier it gets. The more it clarifies that this is absolutely unescapable and it doesn't require anything. It's not conditional. It's simply everything at all times, and it's always here. So this pointing, the mind doesn't know what to do with this. It can't do anything with this because what we're pointing to is what you are before mind that doesn't need a thought to define itself. That's just already and simply so. The mind can't approach that. It can't understand it. It's paradoxical to the mind. This is why you hear the pointing so much. You're already awake. Your awakening is realizing that you're already awake and you always were. There was no self. You don't lose a self, you just see it for what it is, a function of the mind. And it can be a kind of triggering thing to hear sometimes, and an annoying thing to hear, because it directly undermines and points past the validity, the reality of the experience of struggling with this and missing this. And it's saying, you're never missing this. It's not possible. There's just an identification with one thought, a belief in one thought that's happening now. It's framing experience as a certain way. And if it's one way, it's not the other. It's a limitation. That thought is a limitation on the unlimited. This is why you hear Jim Newman or Tony Parsons talk about this as the unknowable. It's not knowable. By definition, it's the unknown. Not as in like a secret knowledge or something like that, or something you access from the point of view of the individual. It's just simply the mystery of life as it is. The mystery of what you are that's right here. There's something happening in thought whenever this experience feels to you to be a certain way. Like I said, I'm not awake, or I'm missing this, or there's that distinct feeling of struggle or suffering or unsatisfactoriness. There's a thought that's being believed. There's a thought that seems to be asserting itself as a reality for this to be a certain way at all, other than the way it is, which isn't understandable. It doesn't need to be understood. It's beyond understanding. And opening to that over and over again, if you can feel what I'm talking about, if part of you knows what I'm talking about, which is super likely if you're watching this video, just opening to that over and over again. What am I that's here now, that knows this, that's aware of this experience, that's having this experience right now? For this to be possible at all, for it to even be possible to have the experience of not being awake, or the experience of missing something, or awakening, eluding my grasp somehow, of there being something better than this in the future, or of this experience not being the right one in any form that appears. And the mind has infinite novelty. It can appear in any form, and it can create this experience in an infinite number of contexts, apparently. It can appear in many ways, in many forms of language, in forms of distinct experience. But there's something that you are right now that doesn't change, that's just always here, completely unknowable, completely mysterious, but it's always here, and it's simply everything. It's not gettable, it's not understandable, but it seems to be doing the getting, or trying to get, or doing the understanding. So what's prior to that experience? Or what am I that's having this experience when it appears with strength and potency, or frustration, or so on? What's more simple than that? And it's here. It's right here. What's looking? What's feeling? What's hearing? what's thinking. All of this points back to the center of experience. The me that's experiencing this, the self that's here, that's relating to life, that's relating to experience, that's relating to mind. And it's inherent. It doesn't come and go, it doesn't change. It's simply always here. It's a comforting message to me that this is always here for you. And you can open up and let go deeper and deeper into it. And there's an element of relaxation involved. For example, when we ask the question, what am I that's looking? There's just a simple clarity. There's just an already here presence that we seem to open our attention up to. It's not caused by that question. It didn't come into experience. That question just seems to open attention up, relax attention such that that which is already here, that you are, that's looking right now, becomes a bit more clear. When we're lost in thought, what will be the next thought? And what am I that's here now, that's thinking, that's aware of this thought experience immediately as it appears? There's just this simple and inherent awareness that's already here. Again, it's not caused, it doesn't come into experience. The experience doesn't change into that. It's the fabric of experiencing, of consciousness, the fabric of the thinkingness that's already here, that makes thought and all its worlds of this and that possible at all. So the further we go into this, the less it's necessary to look for something in it, to wait for an awakening experience or relate to or struggle with the experience that's here. There's more of a trust in your experience, the experience that's here now. We're not trying to get out of it. We're getting closer to it. There's a trust in this. That this is already so. It's just a case of discovery, so to speak. But it's not discovered by the individual. It's not discovered by the self. It's before that. So discovery is not great language. In fact, none of this language is great. But there's a deep trust that this is already here. What the self, what I'm looking for in this, why I'm interested in this, why I adopt some form of practice or inquiry, why I'm asking these questions is because there's a deep knowing that this is already here. Of course, otherwise it would be game over. It wouldn't be possible. It would be too elusive. The impermanence of reality would cause us to get it and lose it. or you'd have to attain it, you'd have to keep it. It doesn't work like that. It's simply already here. So how do we open up to what's already here? There's a stopping. There's a relaxing into what is already. And it happens at such an intangible level, because we start to see that the thoughts that are generating these realities in the world of this or that this seems to be eluding me, that awakening looks like this and doesn't look like that. And somehow I know that these thoughts, these realities just appear on their own. And there might even be a resistance to the presence of that thought, which is another thought, but it just happens on its own. But the unfolding kind of comes from deeper, from this kind of intangible presence that's here. And there's a trust in that. At some point there's a deeper and deeper letting go into that, which is always now, not in the future. But there's a trust here that this is the experience. There aren't multiple experiences. There aren't other people's experiences. In terms of direct experience, there's only this. This is the only experience there is. And you hear the non-dual speakers say that you're already liberated. This is already absolutely free, absolutely at peace. So there's a letting go deeper and deeper into that. Unless if I need to struggle with, define, or change that which is simply here, to look for a better experience or wait for an awakening experience that I'm going to recognize from my point of view based on my memory of what someone told me about it. That somehow the belief that somehow I know what this looks like, so I'll recognize it when it happens. And the assumption in there is that it's not here, it's not happened yet. Something like that. You see how messy all of that is? There's this kind of restless dissatisfaction in there. But there's also what's not that, what's prior to that, which is already here. This is why I describe this path as a backwards. It's like the flip reverse of what the mind thinks it is. And it just stops right here. You don't need to define reality with reality. You don't need a thought for this whatsoever. You don't need to resist thought, but you don't need a thought. You don't need this to be any way other than it is. And from that subjective point of view, that separate self, is in a way that's a frightening message, because it's the unknown. It becomes, from a deep level, more and more obvious that this is the unknown. There's something about that I can't understand or control. But the freedom's before that it feels like it has to be here to control. The freedom is in the simplicity. So this is a message that you feel, you don't understand intellectually. It seems like you do, or it seems like there's intellectual understanding of what I'm saying. And that's there, that's fine. But there's something deeper than that that's already here. More simple than the need to talk about it. but paradoxically doesn't exclude any of the language, any of the thought. It doesn't need to resist this experience as it is now, no matter what it looks like. So what are you that's here doesn't need to be defined by thought right now that's hearing these words, that's sensing the environment, that's looking at this appearance, that's thinking these thoughts. What is most inherent about yourself right now? When the thought starts to move to define this, there's a thought happening. But what you are simply here, simply knows this thinking experience. Doesn't need to be defined, doesn't need language, doesn't need to be described. The thoughts, the descriptions, the language, is it? But it doesn't depend on any one part of itself. It doesn't depend on anything. Anyway, that'll have to do for now.